7 engines. 5 decades. One name that changed everything. The S20 is a 2-liter inline-6 DOHC engine, and it's the reason the Skyline became a legend. Born from the Prince R380 race car engine, the S20 featured 4 valves per cylinder, almost unheard of in the 1960s. It breathed through triple Mikuni Solex dual-choke carburetors, and every single head was hand-ported and bench-tested before installation. This wasn't a mass-produced part. This was a race engine, barely domesticated for the street. 160 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. That might not sound like much today, but in 1969 it was a weapon. Paired with a 5-speed manual sending everything to the rear wheels, the S20-powered Hakosuka GT-R did something no one expected. It won, and kept winning. 49 consecutive victories in Japanese touring car racing. No car before or since has matched that streak. The Skyline went from being just another sedan to the most feared car on any track in Japan. But then the 1973 oil crisis hit. Emissions laws tightened. Motorsport budgets were slashed. The S20 couldn't meet the new regulations, and suddenly, building a high-performance engine felt irresponsible to a world watching gas prices skyrocket. The last S20-powered Skyline, the Kinmari GT-R, was built in just 197 units. Collectors call it the Phantom GT-R. It never even raced, and with that, the GT-R name disappeared for 16 years. The L20ET is a 2-liter, single overhead cam, turbocharged inline-6, and it holds one very important record. This was the first turbocharged engine ever fitted to a Japanese production car. No intercooler, no blow-off valve, just a single turbocharger bolted onto an iron block 6-cylinder. 145 horsepower, just 15 more than the naturally aspirated version. But it wasn't about the numbers, it was about the feeling. That sudden rush of boost mid-rev was something Japanese drivers had never experienced. But the L20ET had serious flaws. The turbo lag was brutal. Heat soak robbed power in traffic. And with only 12 valves, the head couldn't flow enough air to make the turbo truly shine. The L20ET wasn't great, but it proved that forced induction and the Skyline belonged together. It was the seed that would eventually grow into something monstrous. The FJ20ET is a 2-liter twin-cam, turbocharged inline-4, and it was the most powerful Japanese production engine of its era. The FJ20 was the first 4-cylinder engine from any Japanese manufacturer to use 4 valves per cylinder, an iron block for strength, an aluminum head for weight savings, and a turbocharged version that hit 190 horsepower. Then Nissan added an intercooler and pushed it to 205. Toyota scrambled to respond. A horsepower war had begun. Nissan stripped the R30 Skyline to the bone. No radio, no fancy trim, just the FJ20 and the road. At only 1,130 kilos, the RS model was a throwback to the raw Hakosuka spirit. Fans nicknamed the car Iron Mask for its aggressive face. It became an instant cult classic. But the FJ20's iron block made it expensive to produce. And in a market that worships 6-cylinder smoothness, a 4-cylinder, no matter how powerful, felt like it was missing something. Nissan killed it in the mid-80s. It was the right engine at the wrong time. Today, a hardcore community, especially in Australia, still builds FJ20 engines making over 800 horsepower. As one builder put it, the FJ20 was the RB26 of its day. It just never got the fame it deserved. The RB20det is a 2-liter twin-cam, turbocharged inline-6, and it was the birth of a legendary engine family. The RB series was Nissan's clean-sheet inline-6 platform, 24 valves, dual overhead cams. The early versions were nicknamed Red Top because of their distinctive red cam covers. This was the engine that replaced the aging L series and the expensive FJ20 in one stroke. A modular design that could be scaled from mild to absolutely wild, between 180 and 215 horsepower, depending on the version. But the magic of the RB20DET wasn't raw power, it was character. The buttery-smooth inline-6 delivered boost in a predictable, controllable way. It became the go-to engine for anyone learning to drift. Cheap to buy, easy to tune, and nearly impossible to kill. But 2 liters is 2 liters. Push the RB20 beyond 300 horsepower and things start breaking. The bottom end wasn't built for big power, and the small displacement meant it always lived in the shadow of its bigger brothers, the RB25 and the mighty RB26. The RB20DET was never the fastest, never the strongest, but it was the gateway, the engine that let a whole generation afford a Skyline and fall in love with the name. Every GT-R fanatic started here. The RB25 is a 2.5-liter, twin-cam, turbocharged inline-6, and it might be the most well-rounded engine Nissan ever put in a Skyline. 500 extra cc's of displacement over the RB20 gave the RB25 substantially more torque across the entire rev range. Nissan added variable cam timing on the intake side, and later introduced the Neo version with even better efficiency. It was the thinking man's RB engine, up to 280 horsepower and nearly 300 newton-meters of torque. But what made the RB25 special was its dual personality. Civilized in traffic, comfortable on highway cruises. Then you'd push it and it would transform. Enough power to hang with GTRs on a Touge. Enough refinement to drive to work on Monday. But bigger displacement meant more weight. The R33 GT-ST tipped the scales heavier than the R32, and purists grumbled. And no matter how good the RB25 was, there was always one uncomfortable truth. It wasn't a GT-R. It was the best engine you'd settle for, but you were still settling. The RB25 is the Goldilocks engine. Not too small, not too expensive, not too fragile. For thousands of Skyline owners worldwide, this is the one that just works. And they wouldn't trade it for anything. The RB26 DETT, a 2.6-liter twin turbocharged, dual overhead cam inline 6. This is the one. The most iconic Japanese engine ever built. 6 individual throttle bodies, not one shared unit. 6 individual butterflies, feeding each cylinder directly. Parallel twin turbos, 2 Garrett T25 ceramics, spooling together for instant response. Cast iron block for strength. Aluminum head with 24 valves. Nissan rated it at 276 horsepower. But here's the thing everyone knew, that number was a lie. Japanese manufacturers had a gentleman's agreement to cap advertised power at 276 horsepower. The RB26 made well over 300 from the factory. Nissan knew it. Everyone knew it. Nobody said it out loud. Combined with the Atisa all-wheel drive system and 4-wheel steering, the R32 GT-R demolished everything in Group A racing. 29 consecutive victories. It beat Porsche. It beat BMW. It beat Ford Sierra Cosworths. The Australians, stunned by what this Japanese car was doing to their local heroes, gave it a nickname, Godzilla. But Godzilla was hungry. Terrible fuel economy. Expensive maintenance. The 2.6-liter displacement wasn't chosen for street performance. It was calculated to fit Group A racing regulations. On the street, a 2.5 or 3.0 would have made more sense. But this engine was never designed for commuting. It was designed to win. On stock internals, the RB26 can handle over 600 horsepower. Built motors regularly make 1,000. The record holders push past 2,500. And in 2019, Nismo started producing brand new RB26 blocks and heads, because the demand for this engine, decades after it was discontinued, has never stopped. The RB26 didn't just power a car. It powered an entire culture. The VR38 DET is a 3.8-liter twin turbocharged V6, not an inline 6, not a Skyline, and that made a lot of people very, very angry. Nissan broke tradition. The V6 layout was shorter, more compact, better for weight distribution. Plasma-sprayed cylinder bores reduced friction. But the most remarkable detail, each VR38 is hand-assembled by a single master craftsman, a Takumi, whose name is stamped on a plaque on the engine. Only 4 people in the world are certified to build this engine. 473 horsepower at launch, up to 600 in the Nismo version, 0 to 100 in 2.7 seconds. But here's the part that made the supercar world lose its mind. It did all of this for half the price of a Porsche 911 Turbo, a third of the price of a Lamborghini. The R35 didn't just compete with supercars, it embarrassed them. But the R35 has been around since 2007, nearly 2 decades on the same platform. While rivals evolved, the GT-R received incremental updates. And for the purists, the V6 never captured the soul of an inline 6 screaming to redline. It was faster, yes. But something ineffable was lost in translation. From the hand-ported S20 that won 49 races, to the L20ET that introduced turbocharging to Japan, to the FJ20 that fought a horsepower war, to the RB family that created Godzilla, to the VR38 that humiliated supercars at half the price, every Skyline engine tells the same story. Nissan engineers who refuse to accept second place. And the next chapter? It hasn't been written yet.